this is Yolanda from Writing with Purpose. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my faith journey and just basically how the foundation of my faith. So I don't have notes. I should have really taken some notes, but I didn't. So I'm going to actually be doing this off the top of my head. Hopefully I will remember everything. Yeah. So basically I grew up in an Episcopal church. We were going to a Baptist church, but then when I relocated, my parents moved us out of the city and moved us into the suburbs and to a whole new state, a whole new environment, which was a culture shock in its own right. Won't go into that, that's a whole nother story. But I grew up in an Episcopal church, and basically I'm trying to think of what I participated in the choir I believe it was in 5th and 6th grade. I was not allowed to take communion until I was confirmed. So I had to go to a special Sunday school class where they taught us about communion and the blood of Christ. And once I can't remember how long that was, but we studied the Bible, and then after it was finished, we had a celebration and we had a confirmation where everybody who was in the class, we dressed in white dresses, and they held a ceremony for us. And after that, I was able to take communion, and I was so excited to take communion. I felt like I was like grown, like you have reached adulthood. So that was in 7th grade. And I also used to serve, like, when they had like dinners for the church. It was a pretty small church, so we had, like, every now and then we would have potluck suppers, and so they would actually have roast beef dinners, and I would actually serve with my sister and my brother. And since I was still young, I didn't really do like waitressing, but I would actually set the tables or go around and ask if everybody had everything they needed while they were eating. So that was something that I participated in. And then I guess as far as like it was considered like similar to a Catholic religion, where it was like considered like the frozen chosen. We wasn't allowed to clap. We did not have any dancing. There was no laying of the hands. There was no speaking in tongues. Nothing like that. They did have incense on the holidays, like for Easter, Christmas, especially for Easter. They would have the pastor would walk around the church, and they would actually sing hymns, and they would have this huge incense, and he would actually just swing it back and forth and go around the church. And I'm trying to think of how that I stopped going when I got to be a teenager. 16, 17, I started to hang out. You know how that goes. I was like hanging out with my friends, going to the clubs, teenage clubs, drinking, hanging out at night, doing things I wasn't supposed to do, staying over, sleepovers with, guys. I was doing all kind of stuff. But that was in high school, and I was wilding out up until my mid-20s, hanging out. Even though I was not a heavy drinker or anything, I was more of a social drinker, but nevertheless, I was still doing what I wasn't supposed to do. And the thing that shifted was in 1998. I went to this church called Flames of Fire, and back then I didn't believe in the laying of hands, but the pastor laid his hands on me, and I completely fell out on the floor. I didn't even know what happened to me. Completely passed out. And when I woke up, I was like, I know that he had prophesied on me. My other friend also, she was in line, and she was like kind of laughing because she didn't believe either. And she was kind of like resisting when he touched me, I believe, he laid hands on my forehead, but he laid hands on her stomach, and she was trembling. She was shaking and shaking and shaking. It's like she was resisting, and she never did fall down or pass out. But after that happened, he prophesied on me, and that's when he said that my writing, my writings would become from negative, it will transform into a positive writing. And could not believe it. I was like, there's no way, because I used to really write in bits while I was writing. And I have a video on that. I'll pop it up at the top. But that talks about my writing journey and how I got started writing. But it shares more details of that. And he prophesied over that, and he said, I'm going to really touch a lot of people with my writing, which I could not believe. I was like, no, that's not even possible. But that's long before the internet even came out. Or was the internet? Yeah, the internet wasn't even out back then. Because that's before I went to college, I was in college. So yeah, the internet was, but there was no social media. So from that, I'm trying to think of what happened. That, when we left the church, we were driving and we both got nauseous. We had to pull over on the side of the road. I truly believe those were like spirits that were carrying in us, that after he laid hands, like it was purging us of those spirits, any bad spirits that we were carrying, and that's why we was getting nauseous. We felt so sick we could not. I didn't throw up, but it was very close to, for me, vomiting and throwing up. And it was not just me, it was my friend. And so after that happened, a big transition happened, and I'll pop that story up at the top, which in 1998 I got into an accident where that almost nearly, it came very close to death. The truck caught on fire, and yeah, you would really have to hear the detail of that story. We both came out without a scratch. I just got soft tissue damage on my back, and we both came out, and all praises go to the Lord. All glory goes to the Lord for that. I call that my life anniversary, because that accident, when you see the pictures in the video, you know that the hand of God was on my life, and all praises and glory go to the Lord. And after that, that's when my life started to transform, and I got closer to the Lord. I had relocated to go to college, so I was in another state, and I was helping I was helping my friend go to college and move into college. So that's how that accident happened. But from that period, my other friend that I was roommates with, she invited me to this church. Oh yeah, I gotta skip one more thing. Well, I was working at this job, and I had a group of friends. I don't know what she was into, but she would worship the ancestors, and she would leave food at the door, and she would leave water, like different sets of water. She got me into some weird stuff because I set up an altar at my apartment that had all these glasses of water, and I would pray. And I wasn't praying to the water, but I was praying to the Lord. But I was a little bit confused because I did not really understand what she was praying to, because I grew up in the church and I knew about the Trinity, but I don't know how I fell into this. That's how you have to be really careful, because there's so many different theologies and different things going on, especially now with the world the way it is, with New Age and people worshiping crystals and auras and all this other New Age kind of stuff, and Jehovah Witness. They got so much stuff going on, so many different religions. So you really have to be ask the Lord to guide you to the Messiah, to the Bible. The Bible is the truth, it's the Word of God, and it will stand from the beginning to the end, the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. It is the power of God. And while I was doing all that, I don't know, I got into, she used to, like, I went to her house one time when her mother was chanting in this room, and when I went in the room, her mother would not shake hands with you. She would actually hit you on the shoulder, tap you on the shoulder, so it was like shoulder to shoulder. And I went in the room and she had all these figurines around the room, figurines all around the room, all these little statues. I don't know what that was. I don't know if that was some kind of witchcraft. I don't know what was going on. But when she was doing her chanting, I remember sitting in the living room. Her husband was at odds because I don't think he agreed with their religion. I don't know if he was a Christian, but I know that there was some kind of conflict in their marriage or whatever. And I don't know how I started going to the church. I started going to, oh yeah, she did, her mother did say, which, one thing that she did say that was so on point, that led me into the right direction. She goes, she's told me directly, she said, you need to go to a spirit-filled church. You need to find yourself a spirit-filled church. And so that stuck in the back of my mind. Now, where I was living it's the Bible Belt. So there's full of churches. I was visiting so many different churches. I used to travel a long distance on Sundays to get to this one church, and I went to that one church for a very long time. I can't remember the name of that church. But I used to get the bus. It would take me about 2 hours to get to that church. And I don't even know. When I think about it, I'm like, wow, how did I do that? How did I do that? But I used to go back and forth on Sundays and go to that church. Now, when my friend introduced me to this other church, I didn't have a car back then, so I would have to rely on them to take me to the church. And I went to the church like 1 or 2 times. I loved it. But come to find out, I was not able to attend the church because I didn't have a car. And I had moved out of where I was staying when I was rooming with them, and I got my own apartment. So this is long before I wound up getting a car. But actually, I think for a few years, I went without going to church at all because I didn't have any transportation to get to and fro to where I needed to go. And then I think I was taking the bus on the other side of town at one point to this other church. But that church was really very race related. I don't know, it was like, I couldn't really get close to that, I don't know, to their ideologies or whatever. So I felt something was off. I went to that church for a little bit of time, and then I just was craving in my spirit to go back to the church that my friends introduced me to. So eventually I did wind up getting a car, and my whole world changed. I was able to go to the church that I went to, which was a spirit-filled church. It was growing. It was building a whole new building. I was there for the whole transition. It was a beautiful experience. They had a huge choir. There was so much teaching there. I went to Bible studies on Wednesdays. I was seeking the Lord with all my heart. I was going there on Wednesday nights, Sundays, every single Sunday. I was serving in the church. I was going to, I was serving welcome care, and then I eventually even started doing a writing ministry. So I had a writers group there. It was a Christian writers group. We would meet on Saturday mornings. Oh my God, it was so much fun. And from that point, I'm trying to think of what happened. I used to go to, oh yeah, I got baptized. They had the Daniel fast, and then I got baptized July 11th, 2007. I got baptized July 11th, 2007. That was right after I did the Daniel fast. I did a, was it 30-day or 90-day? I think it was a 30-day Daniel fast. And I had nothing but pure vegetables. I had no, like seriously, no dairy products, no butter, no eggs, no meat. It was straight fresh vegetables and fruit and water, and that was it. It was the best experience I ever had. I was purged. I felt so clear in my mind. My body felt good. I had energy. I didn't even actually want to get off the fast. So, I wasn't missing snacking, junk food, none of that stuff. I loved it. It was the best experience. And when I got baptized, I remember the day that I got baptized, it seemed like the devil was attacking me because I was so nervous. I was like I couldn't go through with it. I was so nervous. I didn't have anybody with me. I had no family, no friends that was actually going to be like there to see me get baptized. So I think that was I felt a little bit strange because there was nobody there. Everybody was with family and friends, and I was there by myself. But I went ahead and followed through. They gave me this thick, really beautiful white robe. Everybody had the same white robe. And once I got in line, the fear just went away, and it was just a beautiful experience. I actually wanted to keep that robe, but we had to return the robes. But the robe it was just an awesome experience. And then after that, after I got baptized, one of my friends that go to the church, he was like, you need to pray to speak in tongues. Well, I would pray to speak in tongues, and over the years, I could not. She gave me a book about the Holy Spirit, and I kept on praying to speak in tongues, and I could not. She said, all you need to do is open your mouth, and whatever comes out is the holy language. I could kept on trying to open my mouth. Nothing would come out. Nothing. This went on for years and years and years and years. One time I was watching a video by this girl that has a Periscope. Back then, before YouTube was out, but Periscope was also a competing video channel. So I was watching this video, and she started speaking in tongues. And I was watching her, and then I just opened my mouth, and all of a sudden, words started coming out, and I was confused. I said, is this what speaking in tongues is? I don't know if I'm speaking in tongues. So I just kept on doing it, and it was very easy. It was flowing out of my mouth. I said, this has got to be speaking in tongues, because I was never able to speak in tongues before. I was never able to utter a word out of my mouth. And so it was just flowing fluently. And so ever since then, it comes out very easily, and I don't have to think about it, and it just flows. So years of praying, years of truly praying and just believing that I would be able to speak in tongues. So I just want to leave that with you. If you want to, speak in tongues and you want the holy language, don't get discouraged. Just keep praying, and the Lord will open you to be able to speak in tongues. But basically, need to purge your life, clean up your life, get close to God, live right, get your heart right, get your mind right, renew your mind. You got to do a lot of spiritual things in the background and in the forefront to really receive spiritual gifts. So, yeah, I'm trying to think of what else that was like a highlight of my faith journey. I started writing, in the Christian blog, and that's when my life turned, and that's when I was going through a lot of trials and tribulations. So that through all of that, those different experiences, I sort of started writing, and my life turned into, you know, he spoke to me about in 2008 to start the blog. So that's when I was obedient to start that blog. I'm so glad that I started. Um, when you hear the voice of the Lord, follow through. You never know the reason why he's telling you to do something, but you need to follow through and be obedient to what he's telling you to do. Yeah, I'm trying to think. After that, I had to relocate. My life turned upside down. There was a time where I went through homelessness. I also have that story. I'll pop that video. It talks details of a lot of my tribulations and things that I went through with job loss and being laid off from my job. And yeah, so I went through so much. As you know, the elect goes through a lot. They go through a lot. I'm trying to think what else happened. Or what else I want to share. So that is like, I guess, the timeline of what I've been through as far as my faith journey. And then, oh yeah, when I did relocate to another state, I wound up going to another church, but my mind was always thinking about my home church. But eventually, I got comfortable in that church, and that was spirit led too. It was free spirited. You could clap, you could dance. People spoke in tongues, but not very much. But they had a good choir, very good teaching there. I don't think I would. I was actually part of their ministry also in that church where I was, I forgot what they call it. I wasn't part of the welcome care where I was ushering people in and welcoming them. That was at my other church, but at this church, I forgot what they call that ministry, but I would actually speak to the converts, people that was coming to Christ when they would actually go to the altar and get saved. I was the person who would give them the pamphlets and the booklets and explain to them salvation and accepting Christ and the decision they made. And also I would follow up with them during the week if they had any questions about the church. And I would actually give them any information that they needed during the week. I would have to make calls during the weekday on my own time, and talk to anybody or minister to anybody with any problems that they had or any issues or any questions they had in regard to salvation or anything, personal issues going on with their life. So that is a little bit about me and my faith journey and how the Lord is leading me in ministry. So yeah, if you have, so yeah, I just wanted to share my story. You just never know how someone else, my story can affect your life in some way. And I just feel it's important to actually share my background, since I do write a lot of spiritual content and a lot of faith-based content. So yeah, I just want to give you a solid foundation of my background, because you do have to really test the spirits, especially out here in this world with everything that's going on. You got to really make sure that you're not following false teachings. So and you have to really know who is giving you solid information in regard to your salvation, because that's highly important. It's your eternity. It's your faith. So you want to make sure that the person who's teaching is walking a clean life. So on that note, I just want to leave you with this message, with this video, and hope you're having